Okay guys, so there you have it. That's everything I hate about my 2011 BMW 335i. Hey guys, Supercar Street Racing here again with another video, and welcome to the channel. Today we have a video that almost everyone puts out, and that is the 10 things that you hate or love about your vehicle. Today we're going to do the 10 things I hate about my 2011 BMW 335i convertible. Now some of these things you're going to see I've already corrected, and some things actually need to be corrected in the future. So some of these will be things that will get done pretty soon. Some of them have already been done, and I will tell you what I did to correct those items. Now my 2011 BMW 335i convertible comes from the factory with a single turbo N55 engine. The N55 engine is the upgraded version of the N54, where they corrected a lot of mistakes with the engine, and they simplified the design by going from 2 turbochargers, so a twin turbo setup, to one single twin scroll turbo to reduce the complexity of the engine. They also corrected a number of other items as well. Now the two engines actually make similar power and respond similarly to modifications, but the N54 has a lot more of an aftermarket available for it. So sometimes it's difficult to find parts for it. For example, the valve cover, there are a lot of options for aftermarket valve covers for the N54. With the N55, there's only 1 or 2, and they're very expensive. So also a lot of high pressure fuel pump issues can be corrected on the N54 with an aftermarket high pressure fuel pump. No one makes one for my year model. It has to be a little bit earlier, N55 I believe, in order to get that aftermarket pump. Now my vehicle is called an LCI, so that is actually improved over the version before. They made some improvements here and there that changed the style of the vehicle. It's got things like the headlight rings are LED instead of incandescent, so they're more white instead of the warm white. So things like that. The headlights are actually different as well. There's some styling changes, and that's pre-LCI, would be before my year model. So yeah, the 335i convertible, it's quite a good car, but in a minute here, I'm going to show you exactly what I did to change things and what still needs to be changed. All right guys, we are out in the garage, and let's talk about the first thing that I hated about my BMW 335i when I purchased it, and that was the chrome trim around the windows here. You see how you can see that it is now black, because that was Plastadipped black to match the rest of the black in the car. Now for the convertible, that also goes for this strip here that goes around the car, and when you open the roof you can see it very clearly underneath here that there's a big wide black strip. Now admittedly, some of this Plastadip is already starting to peel off, so it's going to need to be redone. For example, right here we have a little issue, and right here we have a little issue. So that is the first thing I hated about my 335i convertible. The second thing that I hated about my 335i convertible was the brakes. It seems like BMW didn't care in these year models about brakes that look nice. So this has also been corrected with an aftermarket stock brake conversion. So basically, what is that? So these brakes were ordered from eBay. I think it costs a total of about $400, which is a really good deal. It does come with brand new rotors and powder coated brake calipers. So the one bad thing about the stock BMW 335i is these look terrible from the factory. Now, what can you not fix about that? You see that white plate right there? Yes, it looks bad, and there's no way to fix that without getting an aftermarket brake kit. That is the factory caliper, and it looks like that no matter what, and I only wish they had powder coated that part red, but it is clearly silver. So the second thing I hated about my 335i that was corrected, the factory ugly brakes. The third thing I hated about my BMW 335i and was corrected: the chrome emblems. That came as silver, looked terrible. That was plasti dipped to black. And let's go ahead and include the exhaust pipes in those as well, because those were also silver, as well as this valance down here. All that has been plasti dipped. The exhaust tips were treated with high temp silicone spray. We're going to go ahead and include the front grille in that last thing I hated, bringing our total up to 3 now, I believe. The fourth thing I hate about my 335i, and hated it, and it has been corrected, is the factory navigation system. The factory nav is outdated, it looks bad, the maps are terrible, and now we have this very nice Android unit that has replaced the factory navigation system. It does connect to a phone via Wi-Fi, so it can do everything that an Android phone can do, and it is such a freaking awesome piece of equipment. And if you hit the menu button and hold it down, you can still access your factory navigation system, not that you would want to anyway. So that was the factory radio replaced with an Android navigation system. The next thing I hated about my BMW 335i was the factory instrument cluster that is very dated. As you know, most cars now, sports cars, come with an electronic display. So we have fixed that. We have this ID4 digital instrument display that replaced the factory display. It is fully programmable. You can change the maps. You can change the display. You can do custom from them, and this just gives the car like a whole new updated look. So yeah, that was another thing I absolutely hated about my BMW 335i. So the next thing I hated about my 335i was the factory trim that was wood trim. All this trim here on the dash and on the doors comes from the factory in either silver or wood. I happen to have the wood trim, which I did not like at all. That has since been remedied. I did paint the trim black. I do have videos on how to do this on my channel if you're interested in doing this. It looks so much better now. You can see the trim on the doors all done in black now. That's the trim at the bottom. The top is already black from the factory. And then my center console, all done in black, and it makes the car look so much more sporty than from the factory. I just love that. Next thing I hated about my 335i, and has yet to be completely fixed, is the lighting inside the car. So you can see here, that's a regular light bulb. Most of the lights in the car have been replaced with LED. However, this one is so difficult to get to. I still hate it because I can't get the bulb out without tearing this entire piece apart in my car. All the other bulbs, including that one and this one here actually burned out, have been replaced with LED bulbs, even in the back and in the trunk. And so that was the next thing that I absolutely hated and still do. These yellow, ugly, incandescent bulbs in my BMW 335i. The next thing I hate about my BMW 335i is how cheap the plastics are in this from the factory. And if you notice right here, here's a good example of the plastics that just completely scratch and flake off and become soft and just like squishy to the touch. And that is typical for all these cars. And the backs of the seats are the same way. You can see clearly here how that plastic is starting to soften up and get scratched and messed up. And so yeah, I hate the way that they use the cheap plastics on my BMW 335i. My next complaint is a give and take, but I still hate it. Do you see how low this car is? This car is so low that you can't get a jack under it to get it up in the air to change the oil. So the next thing I hate about my BMW 335i is how low the car is. On the flip side, it does look good and it handles very well.
So I can only be so mad about this, but it still makes for a very difficult oil change, or anytime you want to take the tires off or do anything to the car, you have to struggle with the lowness of the M Sport suspension in my BMW 335i. The next thing I hate about my 335i is the convertible top and the way it breaks constantly. So I had a piece like this break. That is actually a cover for the hinges. When that breaks, this piece has to be replaced and it has to be repainted, which will cost you. Every little piece inside this top is very expensive. For example, there's string kits that hold the upholstery on. They're super expensive. So the next thing I hate is that when the convertible top breaks, and it will break eventually, it is extremely expensive to replace the parts inside of the top. And now the final thing I hate about my BMW 335i, the extended warranty is expired. And I know that's cheating because that doesn't really count against the car, but yes, my extended warranty expired about 6 or 8 months ago, and I actually almost maxed out the policy. They will only pay as much as the car is worth. So yeah, I hate that my extended warranty is is totally gone on this car, and everything costs a lot to fix.
Okay guys, so there you have it. That's everything I hate about my 2011 BMW 335i. A lot of it are minor cosmetic things. Like we had the brake calipers. They come from BMW just looking absolutely terrible. Getting them powder coated can help, but make sure you get the little plate inside the caliper powder coated as well. BMW started changing that in newer models like the 135i. It has some really nice looking brakes. There are swap kits available out for the brakes as well if you want to do that, and you can actually swap in other model brakes into the 335i. The trim pieces, unlike the 335IS, which has black trim pieces, the trim pieces are all chrome or silver, along with the exhaust tips. I do not like that. The grille is also silver. I don't like that. The emblems are silver. I don't like that. So you can remedy that. It's not gonna last forever unless you get painted by a body shop, and that's what I recommend. Take your trim pieces to a body shop and have them sand and paint them. Your slide marker lights, those are also ugly. I didn't put that in the video, but that's all part of blacking out your trim. You can actually plastidip those or sand and paint them matte black. On the inside of the car, the plastics are very poorly made and they will start softening up and peeling off over time. All you can do really is either sand and paint them or buy new pieces. On the inside of the car also, the trim is all wood trim on my car, and you probably have that if you have a 335i. I believe silver was optional, and I don't know about black. The navigation system on a 2011 335i is completely dated, so there's not really much you can do about that except get an Android aftermarket system. And fortunately for the E90, E92, E93 is very available out there. Even on eBay, you can pick one of those things up for $200 and replace it yourself and get rid of that old dated BMW navigation system. The instrument display, some of you might not agree, but I think the instrument cluster is completely outdated in that car, and so the ID4 Motion instrument cluster is worth taking a look at, even though it is incredibly difficult to install and the support is lacking on that device. I just want to warn you ahead of time, it still does not fit, and I still have battery drain issues with the ID4 instrument cluster. So that's about it. That's all I can think of at the moment. If you got any other ideas about what you hate on your BMW 335i, please throw them down in the comments. We will do about 10 things that I love about my 335i following this. Guys, have a good day. This has been Supercar Street Racing.